Hi there, and welcome to Counseling and Career Services online resume and cover letter writing workshop. This workshop is part one of a 5-part series where we discuss effective resume and cover letter writing. Part one focuses on what makes a resume effective. You can also view parts 2 through 5, which cover setting up your document, content and sections, writing tips, and cover letters. Throughout the presentation, I'll be referring to some different exercises that you can do to help you build your resume as you go. There are links to these exercises listed below. If you're watching this video through our YouTube channel, you'll see the links in the description of the YouTube video. And if you're watching this through our blog, you'll see links directly below the video on our blog page. You can also find these exercises through our website via the online resume guide, and you can see the link to our main page here on the screen. You're also welcome to find some hard copies of these in our office. If you're in Lethbridge, you can stop by Anderson Hall, AH153, and get them from Counseling and Career Services. And if you're on the northern campuses, just stop by your main office to find some hard copies of our resume guide. So if we're going to talk about creating an effective resume, we should start by defining what a resume actually is. And this might seem pretty basic, but oftentimes we forget sort of the whole picture of what a resume is. So we've got a little summary here on the screen, and really we want to think of your resume as a targeted summary of your background and your strengths that tells the reader how you can be effective for the job in question. And there's essentially 2 parts to this definition. Oftentimes when we think of a resume, we think of the first part, the targeted summary of our background and strengths. But we tend to forget the second part of the puzzle there. And so this part about telling the reader how you can be effective for the job in question is very important. This is essentially where the targeted nature of your resume comes in. So it's not simply anything and everything you've ever done. It's really speaking specifically about your ability to do really well in one particular role that you're applying for. So I like to think of it as 2 pieces of a puzzle. One of the puzzle pieces is you. It's everything that you've experienced, it's your education, it's your skills, it's all of those great things that you have to offer an employer. And the other piece of the puzzle is what the employer needs. So for whatever particular role an employer is hiring for, they're going to have a defined set of needs and things that they're looking for in this particular role. If you can bring together both pieces of the puzzle and show an employer how you are the right person to meet their needs, you'll be able to clearly demonstrate to them that you are the right fit for the role that you're applying for. So how does this selection process actually work? Well, usually employers are looking for 3 key areas. And those 3 areas are experience, education and training, and personality and fit. For experience, the employers are looking to know that you've done something similar or that you've had an experience that might mirror some of the skills that would be required for this particular role. For education and training, they want to know that you're competent in the role and that you have the required knowledge in order to carry it out well. And finally, employers do look for personality and fit. So every different kind of a role is going to have a different type of a setting, and they want to know that you'll be the right fit for that particular setting. Will you be able to get along well with your coworkers and work alongside them? Will you fit in with the company culture or the organizational structure? These are all things that employers look for. So what we want to do is think about how we can actually portray those 3 key areas throughout our resume and cover letter. So how are you going to get those ideas across to an employer? Well, there's a couple of different things that you want to focus on. First of all, first impressions matter. There have been studies done with eye scanning software and hiring managers that have determined that most managers will only spend about 6 seconds on an initial go-through of your resume. Now, what that means is that you need to capture a reader's attention quickly with your resume. You want to make sure that your important information is standing out so that in those first few seconds, the reader gets a really good impression of you and wants to actually then spend some more time going through your resume in detail and finding out more about you. Another thing that employers are looking for is relevant information, and this is where the targeted nature of your documents come into play. So like I mentioned earlier, we don't need a history of every single thing that you've ever done. We want to really understand what is relevant to this role and what pieces of your background you're then going to focus on so that you can again explain to the employer why you're the right person to fill this particular role. Something that you'll want to spend a lot of time focusing on, of course, are your strengths and your accomplishments. So in order to help you explain these accomplishments to employers through your resume, we've put together a little exercise called Highlight Your Accomplishments. So as I mentioned a little earlier, you'll find links just below the video to help bring you to that exercise. And if you're reading through our online resume guide, you can find this in Appendix D. Again, it's titled Highlight Your Accomplishments. This exercise will help you to think through your past experiences and articulate your achievements. Try to come up with at least 2 accomplishment statements that highlight what you have to offer. If you need some help thinking of how to explain your achievements, see the examples listed at the bottom of the page. You'll see that statements typically start with an action verb, and this is done in order to help you focus right in on the actions that you took, which is something that an employer will look for. The statements also explain the outcome of your actions, so it's important not only to state what you did, but what came out of those actions. An example might be something like, created and implemented new social media marketing campaign for a local nonprofit group, which increased client engagement by 10%. There, we've started with strong action verbs, implemented and created, which help the employer to understand what you actually were responsible for doing. And then the piece about increasing the client engagement speaks about what actually happened from those actions that you took. Pause the video for a few moments and try to come up with a couple of statements of your own. I hope you're able to come up with a couple of statements to highlight what you have to offer to an employer. If you're wondering how you can continue working on those statements, see part 4 of our video series, which will go more into depth on writing effectively. Another thing that you need to take very careful note of with your document is making sure that it's error-free. This is really one of the most important things you can do with your document. And it makes sense, right? Because often your resume and your cover letter are one of the first samples of your written work that an employer will see. With this sample, you want to ensure that employers know that you take care with your work and that you know how to do a good job. There are employers who will actually disregard resumes that have errors in them. Because they have so many resumes that they have to sort through, they start to look for ways to weed people out. So you want to ensure that your resume stands out because it has no errors, not because they have to overlook the fact that you've made a number of spelling or grammatical errors. It's a good idea to get somebody to take a second look at your document. So ask a friend or family member, classmate, to just do a little once-over and help you catch the things that you might have missed. The last thing we'll talk about in this particular video is the fact that you're unique. It's important to remember that nobody has the exact combination of skills, experience, and qualities that you have. So you want to make sure that that shines through in your document and that the employers get a good sense of who you are and all of the unique and special things that you have to offer. It's also important to remember that one size doesn't fit all when it comes to resumes. And that's why we don't have a resume template that we can give you and just say, okay, fill in the blanks and away you go. Your document is going to look unique, and in fact, every document that you send out will probably look a little bit different. So you really need to start to think about what's actually going to work for you, what's going to allow you to best showcase what you have to offer, and how you actually like to sort of present your information. So there's no right or wrong answers. Resumes don't have to be done exactly one way or another. You actually get to take ownership of your decisions and choose what you like best. But as you do so, and as you make those choices, think through your reasons for the choices that you make. And consider all of the things that we've discussed so far in this video. Is your resume showing relevant information? Is it highlighting your strengths? Is it helping the employer get a sense of what you have to offer for that particular role? If so, you're probably on the right track. If you don't find that it's doing those things, then you'll probably want to go back and make some revisions. So that's it for part 1 of our video series. Make sure you check out parts 2 through 5 to get a really good, well-rounded understanding of resumes and cover letters. Remember that you're not alone in this process. We are happy to help you as you develop a strong resume and cover letter. And we can do that through one-on-one appointments here in Lethbridge, or we can also assist you via email or phone. So feel free to reach out to us at ces.students@ulethbridge.ca or give us a call at 403-317-2845.